government is investing over 2 billion Ghana cedis in healthcare infrastructure between now and 2028. This includes an initial 200 million cedis allocation in the 2025 budget to accelerate construction, expansion, and modernization of hospitals, clinics, and health centers nationwide. Whether in remote rural communities or high-density urban centers, our aim is the same: a health facility within reach of every Ghanaian. Cabinet is awaiting a report from the Honorable Minister of Health on the status and stage of completion of the Agenda 111 hospitals to determine a way forward for their completion. Our approach to economic management goes beyond improving the macroeconomic indicators. It's about making the Ghanaian household feel the impact in their everyday lives. As the popular saying goes, the real economy is not in statistics, but in the pockets of the people. And that is why I take pride not only in the clear signs of recovery and stability, but in the direct relief Ghanaians are experiencing from our economic policies. Today, we're seeing a stabilization in the price of goods and services, with inflation dropping significantly from 23.8% in December 2024 to 11.5% in July 2025, the lowest inflation rate recorded since December 2021. But this isn't just about numbers, it's about being felt across markets and homes. The prices of key commodities are falling, and for the first time in years, brands and businesses are actively advertising their price reductions, a sign that recovery is not only real but tangible. Official trade associations have presented data to Parliament that shows that up to 4,500 different items on the market have seen varied price reductions. We've stayed current with our bond repayment obligations. In a significant endorsement of Ghana's economic recovery efforts, global credit rating agencies, S&P Global Ratings, have upgraded Ghana's country credit risk from junk to B- with a stable outlook, reflecting renewed investor confidence and the positive momentum in economic management. To maintain this positive momentum of our economic recovery, we're increasing Ghana's productivity through bold job-creating initiatives. And one of the most transformative among them is our 24-hour economy initiative, a policy that is designed to boost micro and small and medium enterprise, modernize agriculture, and expand employment opportunities across key sectors. This initiative is not just about keeping the lights on longer, it is about unlocking new shifts of productivity, widening access to jobs, and building a resilient, inclusive economy that works for all. Only yesterday, Cabinet approved for onward submission to Parliament the 24-hour authority bill. Already, we're seeing key institutions take the lead in actualizing the 24-hour economy vision. The Ghana Publishing Company has transitioned to a full 24-hour operation. The Passport Office and Ghana's foreign missions have also rolled out round-the-clock services to expedite passport processing and improve service delivery. At our ports, both Tema and Takoradi are now operating 24 hours to boost trade efficiency and reduce congestion. To guarantee safety within this evolving ecosystem, a dedicated 24-hour economy policing secretariat has been established in the Ministry of Interior to provide continuous security support across the country. These bold steps signal a clear national commitment to building a resilient, inclusive, and job-rich economy. To ensure legal and operational readiness, Cabinet has approved critical amendments to the GIPC Act and the Labour Act, which now include provisions that enable and regulate 24-hour economic activity. These legal reforms will ensure that businesses, investors, and workers alike are supported by a framework that protects rights while encouraging innovation and growth. Complementing this agenda, we have rolled out the Jumara program and the National Apprenticeship Program, both of which are expanding pathways to employment, particularly for our young people and artisans. These programs are equipping thousands with the skills, tools, and opportunities they need to succeed in today's job market. Thousands of young Ghanaians are currently undergoing training under the 1 Million Coders program. our bold strategic initiative to build Ghana's digital talent base and prepare our youth for the jobs of the future. This program is equipping participants not just to access digital jobs, but to create sustainable employment opportunities through innovation, entrepreneurship, and global ICT competitiveness. Additionally, in the extractive sector, the Gold Board is formalizing Ghana's gold trade. As of today, gold trading is a reserve for only Ghanaians. This strategic move will help maximize national benefits, enhance transparency, and ensure that the wealth generated from our natural resources is reinvested in our communities and national development. We're also taking decisive action to protect our environment and natural resources from destruction. A dedicated national task force is currently in place, actively combating the menace of illegal mining. As a result of their operations, hundreds of excavators, water pumps, and other heavy equipment have been seized, disrupting the networks that have long exploited our lands and our rivers. In addition to enforcement, we are reclaiming what has been lost. 9 forest reserves have been successfully recovered from the grip of illegal miners, restoring these vital ecosystems under state protection. Our Tree for Life initiative is being actively rolled out across the country, targeting the restoration of lands degraded by illegal mining activities. Steps are currently underway to repeal LI 2462 to formalize our commitment to end mining in forest reserves. Let me be clear, since my administration resumed office, not a single license has been issued to any company to mine in our forest reserves. The repeal of LI 2462 is therefore intended just to crystallize in law what we have already demonstrated in practice, which is our commitment to protect these forest reserves. My friends, I understand that public accountability and the recovery of looted state resources are at the top of your expectations from my government. And let me assure you, my fellow citizens, that we've not wavered in our commitment for even a moment. Neither have we been complacent. What you are witnessing is not inaction, it is our steadfast adherence to due diligence, due process, and fairness in the pursuit of justice. Yes, our insistence on doing things the right way may afford those who have looted this country some temporary relief, but let me be clear, it will not grant them permanent escape. Across multiple fronts, active pursuits and prosecutions are well underway under the Operation Recover All the Loot. Over 200 cases are under active investigation, with about 80 people interrogated so far. Several prosecutions have begun, progressing steadily and remaining firmly on course. In the Republic versus Edoubois and 3 others, the state has submitted witness statements together with all other documents, and trial has commenced. And the first of 3 prosecution witnesses have been called and have been cross-examined by counsel for the accused person. With the SkyTrain case, for instance, the prosecutors have secured a trial date, as all preliminary matters have been concluded and the trial is set to commence. For the National Service Authority case, due to its expansive nature, charges have been drafted and will be filed as soon as the legal year begins against the following person: the Republic versus Osei Sibe, the Republic versus Eric Nyako, the Republic versus Gifty Owari. Also for the National Cathedral, we are awaiting a forensic audit from the Auditor General. Additionally, charges have been drafted and are ready for filing in the case of Republic versus Wuntumi and Akunta Mining. The Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, is finalizing its report with respect to Exim Bank transactions. Dockets are in preparation for the buffer stock case and the drip equipment case. Investigations are ongoing into the African Cup of Nations case, the Mats Set case, and approximately 20 other cases currently. Let me be clear, every single case of corruption that needs to be investigated is being looked into. And once evidence is found to ground the prosecution, that will happen and happen swiftly. Looking within, we launched a code of conduct for public officials with an insistence on strict compliance. A high-level working group has been inaugurated to draft a new anti-corruption strategy aimed at strengthening ethical governance and institutional coordination. My fellow citizens, the scourge of Galamsey is receiving much attention. We've established the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, as the Central Operations Command Center coordinating the national fight against illegal mining and its associated environmental degradation. In a coordinated effort across all security agencies and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, 440 excavators have been seized. Over 1,400 arrests have been made, with suspects awaiting prosecution. Over 300 Shamfang machines have been confiscated and destroyed. Over 900 water pumps seized from illegal mining sites have been handed over to the Ministry of Agriculture for distributing to farmers for irrigation purposes. Of Ghana's 288 forest reserves, 44 had previously suffered varying degrees of destruction from illegal mining. Notably, 9 of those reserves had become no-go zones due to the presence of armed groups. Through the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and with support from the security agencies, we've successfully repossessed all 9 of these red-zoned forest reserves. However, over the weekend, the Jimira Forest Reserve and the Anwia Futu section of the Offense Shelter Belt was reinvaded by illegal miners after these were handed back to the Forestry Commission. The military is currently working with NIMOS to repossess those reserves and establish a permanent presence in those liberated forest reserves to prevent re-incursion by illegal miners. 980 personnel have been recruited, trained and deployed in the Western and Savannah regions. They conduct daily operations on major river bodies, serving as community vanguards to ward off illegal mining activities. An additional 1,020 personnel will be recruited and deployed by the end of the year, bringing the total force to 2,000 blue water guards. The next phase will focus on dechemicalizing and restoring our water bodies to their pristine state. Feasibility studies for this critical restoration efforts are currently underway. In collaboration with the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Finance, GRA Customs Division, and the Ports and Harbours Authority, we've instituted a system for the proactive tracking of all imported excavators and earth-moving equipment from the port of entry. 1,200 excavators are going through the permitting process from the Transport Ministry, clearance from Customs registration with DVLA, and tracking at the Minerals Commission. So far, we've registered 1,015 earth-moving and mining equipment. 647 have been registered and fitted with tracking devices. There are an additional 600 equipment at the port awaiting clearance. An additional 350 tracking devices are expected by September 12, 2025 to enhance this monitoring effort. The Constitutional Review Commission is actively engaging stakeholders across the country, gathering views on how best to shape the future framework of Ghana's democracy. This inclusive approach ensures that voices of citizens, civil society, and institutions are reflected in the evolving constitutional order. Friends, internal security is important for economic progress. Pursuant to our commitment to improving security, we have earmarked 1 billion Ghana cedis to retool our security agencies. The Ministry of Energy has recently granted a declaration of commerciality for the Ebang Akuma oil and gas discoveries in Cape 3 Points, Block 4, confirming their commercial viability. This paves the way for the joint venture partners ENI Vitol, Woodfields, and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation to proceed with a full plan of development of this oil well. This milestone brings us closer to increased oil and gas production, job creation, and enhanced energy security, reinforcing our commitment to responsible resource management for the benefit of all Ghanaians. We've also approved the construction of a second gas processing plant, GPP2, to double our national processing capacity and set the stage for cheaper, cleaner, and more reliable power generation. This landmark project alone is expected to save the country close to $500 million every 2 years by drastically cutting our reliance on expensive imported liquid fuel. Beyond the cost reduction, it is projected to create over 1,000 direct and indirect jobs, fueling both industry and livelihoods. We can all attest to the fact that the looming threat of Dumsor we inherited in January this year has been averted. Through strategic interventions and swift action, power supply has remained stable across the country, ensuring uninterrupted electricity for households, businesses, and essential services. We've made significant strides in restoring fiscal decentralization. In the past 8 years, only 40% to 50% of the District Assembly's Common Fund was reaching metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, constraining their capacity to deliver local services. Our government has reversed this trend. District assemblies are now receiving 80% of their allocation directly. Of the 7.57 billion allocated for DACF this year, approximately 6.1 billion has gone straight to local assemblies, with a minimum of 25 million allocated to each MMDA. Already the first quarter disbursement of 987.97 million has been released to kickstart district level development. To ensure focused impact, Cabinet has approved expenditure guidelines for the districts. 25% of the fund is to support design and construction of what we call 24-hour economy model markets. 10% is allocated for health, with a minimum of 2 CHIPS compounds per district. Education, 1 kg, 1 primary, 1 GS block, potable water, at least 10 boreholes, environmental sanitation and school furniture. 7.5% for MMDA administration, monitoring and evaluation, and 20% is allocated to finished legacy projects. Simultaneously, all statutory funds such as 2.03 billion to the National Health Insurance Fund and 2.71 billion to GET funds covering NHIS, arrears, and free SHS have been released in full, underscoring our commitment to public service delivery and local empowerment. Next week, I'll cut the sword in 3 locations to signal the start of the Big Push program. The first phase understandably covers mainly the road sector. Everyone will admit that over the last 8 years, our road infrastructure has deteriorated remarkably. This year alone, almost 14 billion Ghana cedis of our oil and gold revenues have been earmarked for the Big Push program. Critical road projects such as the Ofanko and Sawam roads, which were chronically underfunded, have been transferred under the Big Push program and recently received a release of almost 1 billion cedis to ensure speedy completion by the end of second quarter of next year. My media colleagues, our reset agenda remains on course, and I've remained unwavering in my commitment not only to the promise I made to you in the run-up to the 2024 elections, but to the principles of honesty, transparency, and probity and accountability that define good governance. I'm resolute in laying foundations for economic recovery, resetting our institutions to reflect the demands of modern governance and enhanced service delivery for every Ghanaian. I'm driven by a deep determination to see the dreams of our forebears for an economically independent and self-reliant Ghana realized in our lifetime. I'm equally determined to restore Ghana's rightful place as a respected voice and actor on the global stage. With your continued trust and support, I'm confident that we will not only meet these goals, but also build a nation that serves the hopes of this generation and the aspirations of generations yet unborn. May God bless us all, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. At this stage, we will delve straight into the question and answer session, which will be guided by the following rubric. There will be 1 question per questioner. And this is to ensure that we maximize the time. This program is supposed to last for 1.5 hours, and we are due to leave here at 9:30. I would also entreat you to avoid lengthy preambles to questions so that we can afford as many of you the opportunity to ask questions. There will be 5 batches of questioning with 4 questions in each batch. 2 microphones will be placed on either side of the middle row to enable these questions to be asked. So at this stage, I'll call on the ushers and stewards to position the microphones so that the questions could be asked. Okay, so the gentlemen on either side of the middle row are with the microphone. So if you want to ask a question, please put up your hand. You catch my attention, I will. All right, so we have the president of the Ghana Journalists Association who is supposed to embody your collective aspirations. So I would accord him the courtesy of asking the first question. So Mr. Jomfo, you may ask the first question. After which I see Kojo Prekodankwa, and then the Moses of Bloomberg, and then one lady in the middle to bring the number to 4. Mr. Jomfo, you may ask your question, please.
Thank you, Honorable. Mr. President, thank you so much for this opportunity, and having been given the opportunity to set the tone for the media encounter. Permit me to commend you for availing yourself for this media encounter and for your commitment to transparency and accountability. Your willingness to face scrutiny just 8 months into your term set a commendable example of good governance. We also wish to commend you for your assurance and firm commitment to safeguarding the safety and protection of journalists across the country. Now my question, Mr. President, as you may be aware, remuneration and general working conditions in the media are not the best, especially in the state-owned media, which falls under the authority of government. This situation is a key factor in our low ranking on the World Press Freedom Index under the economic indicator. What measures is your government putting in place to improve working conditions in the state-owned media and also to provide relief for those in the private media? Also, assault on journalists are on the rise, and I know this is of great concern to you as a journalist yourself and a proud member of the Inky fraternity. The Ghana Journalists Association would therefore like to know what your government is doing to address this disturbing trend. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Kojo, you may have the microphone now.
Good evening. My name is Kojo Prekodankwa, Kesben Media. In your remarks, you did touch on the issue of mining, and I want to commend your government with the achievements you chalked. But recently, we heard that Ghana Water Company is proposing almost about 280% increment in tariffs. One of the major reasons they raised has to do with Galamsey and how it is affecting them to get us good or potable water. In this way, I would want to ask, Mr. President, would you then consider the argument that we should have the state of emergency when it comes to illegal mining? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kojo. I believe I called the Moses of Bloomberg. Yes.
Your Excellency, thank you very much. My name is Akol Moses, a correspondent of Bloomberg. Your Excellency, Ghana's economic indicators have turned into a positive trajectory, and buoyed by the ratings you also referenced and investor confidence. Do you think that that gives enough scope for you to go back to the international capital market, maybe for your first Eurobond after the defaults? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take the final question in this batch from the lady whose hand is up.
Medase, Idiame Jeso, ene apina pukua, when near me wo, Adom Brand, Sadum TV, and Adom FM. Masen bisa efa enkania boy and the say ECG a proposed 225%. Yenim se me mu entumo by a base 2.45. In July, it was through by 14.75. Ningi now see him say a bine one is so the 24 economy. What the Bayejuma na Ghana for the Duenya Mufaso. It is say ECG the 225% increment eba. Yenim hawa proposal no any hunkumudi bekone percentage of debate na. Ebeko Ghana for Bibena company say ano yedin. Ye bisa se betumenya nsusanso e wo 24 economy no so Ghana for butum ena ebiom so aban be hwese obeso asene eye subsidy ama omanfo ho atoma na medase.
So His Excellency the President will field these questions at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President of GGME. Your question is a double question, one on remuneration and the other on assault of journalists. With regards to remuneration, I would say that it's not only journalists in the state-owned media who are dissatisfied with their salaries. Public service salaries are not living wages. I agree with the TUC that we must work towards a living wage. All of us are dissatisfied with the salary we get as public servants. The private sector offers better remuneration, but that's why we have to work together to grow the national cake so that we can pay ourselves better. And that is why there's agitation for cancellation of Article 71 in the Constitution, because we all must feel the pinch so that we can grow things together. But when you cushion a certain constitutional class and they have more cushy remuneration than the other people, then it creates a kind of discrimination between public service. And so our advocacy has been for an independent emoluments commission that would deal with the salaries and wages of all persons in the public sector so that we grow those wages together. In our first incarnation under Professor Mills, we established a single spine salary structure. And that salary structure was supposed to uniform out wages in the public sector so that the disparity will not be too wide. So if you are a secretary in GBC compared to a secretary in, say, Bank of Ghana, there will not be that very wide disparity. Unfortunately, the single spine atonsium, because of the inability to maintain the discipline in public sector wages. Over the last 8 years, the group that is able to strike the most gets more addition to their wages than those that don't go on strike. And so the disparities have occurred again. And so we're in consultation with organized labor to see what we can do about reforming public sector wages. And I'm sure that if those wages are made better, journalists working in the public sector would also have an improvement in their remuneration. With the private sector, government does not have control there. And what happens is we have such a proliferation of private media that advertising revenue is not enough, to be able to maintain the kinds of salaries that we all expect. Maybe if we had fewer, then the advertising revenue would go around and people can have more. But our constitution guarantees freedom to establish a media of mass communication. And so you cannot restrain how many radio stations you have or how many newspapers you have. And so it's something that we have to live with for a while. Natural competition will phase out the stations that are not competitive, and those that are able to survive will see that they're able to make more money from advertising. The main revenue for media all over the world is advertising. And so we'll see how that goes. I've condemned assaults on journalists in any form. Journalists are doing their job, and their job is to bring news to the doorsteps of our people and to inform them, educate and entertain them. And so at every event, you will have journalists there. Unfortunately, some security personnel have developed a penchant for just harassing journalists. And so it's a matter of educating people. It's a matter of, sanctioning people who assault journalists And I've been speaking with my president of GJA, saying that we're going to bring them together with the security agencies so that they must carry out an awareness amongst their people who provide security at events, that if you see a journalist at an event, he is also doing a job like you, the security person, are doing your job. And so you don't have the right to assault them or to manhandle them. And so we'll keep working at it. I mean, definitely, as a member of the GJA, a lifetime member of the GJA, there's no way I'll condone assault of journalists in any form. The various, we do occasional review of tariffs. And when these tariffs are about to be reviewed, proposals are requested from the utility organizations. And so I noted that recently Ghana Water presented their proposal, and Electricity Company of Ghana also presented their proposal. It doesn't mean that the proposal they present is what is going to be implemented. We have the regulator, which is the PURC, that looks at all the factors, including the exchange rates, including the cost of production and all that, before they determine what increase in tariff is allowed. And so the fact that you hear that water companies says they're going to increase by 200 and something percent does not necessarily mean that PURC is going to allow them to do that. Now, meaning about Obusa ECG there also. The same for both utilities. ECG so I propose 200 and something percent, but I know interest PURC budget to say me into electricity tariffs musa. Share a nyoma a core electricity production mu to say fuel nesan yomanina and sana omashe senya omo de tariff ni besi. Na MRP no at the frontier, your tariffs are cost running. Nipa bebre entia. Until we share ECG say, your cast commercial and technical losses are almost 42%. I just say of electricity almost tono. Almost to me a J and home aketia of only about 58%. Na no anka we say afa na bia ankasa ejumeya se wo ye ejumeya na bibia wotombia unya just return of 58% and by now ejuba nego nso akoya aban de se e kire so na aban abeboa e kire so na aban abeboa enti afi de ya sesa omo hwe ejuma no so na ya kenya omo se omo sorry na omo nante na nia onkrofo omo wia iram kania no ni adeni na yenchechi omo na yentwe omo aso. If you say you need to ebema a tono a bona bafum, and a juma beguswaye. Bloomberg, yes, we're quite happy with the outcomes of the reforms that we have been implementing in the economy, and we have survived without going to the capital markets. We've survived without borrowing. Who could have thought some years ago that Ghana's economy could be run without going to the external market to borrow? And yet, we've survived. And so we shouldn't be in a hurry to go back to the capital market. All we've done is to reorder our expenditure and push funds to areas that are of priority. And so that's all we've done. Fiscal discipline, not spending money on wasteful, political interventions and all that. And that is already showing the successes in the market. I mean, we've gone from negative 3.4% on the primary balance to positive 1.1 as at now. And by the end of the year, we'll achieve the target. I'm sure we'll overachieve the target of positive 1.5. And so it's all about discipline in expenditure. And so for me as the president, I would not favor a quick return to the international capital market. I think we should go like this for a while and consolidate the economy before we look at external financing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now, having taken a set of questions from this side, I would go to this side and take 4 more questions. Kamini, you may have the first shot.
Mr. President, it's Kemeni Amano. I'm the host of TV3's Hot Issues. We look forward to your return to the iconic show. I want to talk about the local currency, the cedi. In the second quarter of the year, we saw a very bullish rise in the value of the cedi. We are not seeing the same in the third quarter. So far, we are told that it's lost about some 13%. When it was on this rise, the IMF had warned that the country was over-interfering, which is why we were seeing the performance. My question tonight is, Mr. President, did you manipulate the performance of the cedi? Is that why we are seeing the cedi fall as quickly as it is today? How do you explain this decline in value in such a short period of time? And what's the plan to revive it?
Thank you very much. Nana Mejakwa has the floor.
Patronidin Nana Mejakwa, Nia TV. My question is oral. I'm saying, Mr. President, what can PFA oral? Now, the last accountability series, Attorney General, a statement in Pesemi Redi Kakami quoting Kakranami to us with the I wish to remind you of the fact that when I announced the Kwabena Edubuahi investigation, I was blunt in stating the fact that I am open to engaging in plea bargaining with those who have been investigated and found to have looted or stolen state resources. I means no words about my intentions and will therefore not shut the door to any accused person willing to enter into negotiations with my office for purposes of reaching a plea agreement. Yenim se ya criminal and other offences procedure amendment act 2022 plea bargaining. But my question is say fight corruption. As Attorney General, State Attorney say we be na pono de ato ho no mo a say we loot state resource and as a fund bra then ni me negotiate. Does it mean say we beti asese sika na me fire no metua ye jai no ana ndi wo ho no mo ana? Me question no it does.
Justice from Shinhua News Agency.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Justice from China State Media, Shinhua News Agency. Looking at the global trade crisis that was ignited by the United States President, people have been wondering what countries like Ghana would be doing as a response. But we realized recently that the Chinese government has actually granted all African countries a zero tariff into their market. What will Ghana be doing to take advantage of that for our trading to be boosted as a substitute to what we may have been losing from the United States side? Thank you.
Before I take the final question from here, let me indicate that we are joined by journalists from across the regions through the power of technology. So as and when the technical folks sit down me, I would ask them to also contribute to this question and answer session. Alfred, you may have the last word in this batch.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Alfred Okanse. I work with TV3 as part of Media General. Just on the back of the oral question that was asked by a colleague of mine, over the weekend we had the General Secretary of your party indicate that there are some NDC lawyers who are cutting deals with some persons who are standing trial for acts of corruption. Is this statement one that you're minded by? And if you are, what are you going to do about this, especially because of how committed you are, as you indicated, to pursue oral because the Ghanaian people expect that you should do so? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfred. Now we are joined by William Menta from Rich FM. So William, if you can hear me, you have the floor.
Okay, so my name is William Menta from Asimposu-based Rich FM Central Region. And Mr. President, Central Region is known as the heartbeat of education and tourism. Yet our people still struggle with unemployment and underdeveloped infrastructure. What specific steps is your government and our strengths into real jobs and opportunities for the youth? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, you may answer this question, sir.
Thank you very much. The first question is about the rise in the value of the cedi. We recognize a very steep appreciation in the value of the cedi in response to the reforms that we were carrying out. And for those of you who listened to me, there was one occasion where I said, people were asking whether it will go below 10. And I said, it is dropping, but it will find its true value. It was undervalued at 16, and it probably is overvalued at 10. But somewhere between there, we have the real value of the cedi. And so I believe that it is about stopping rapid depreciation of the currency. Almost every currency would realize either depreciation or appreciation in the course of a year. But when you have steep depreciation of about, like we had in 2024, 25% depreciation in the currency in the first half of the year, it makes planning difficult. And so, yes, Bank of Ghana has been intervening in the forex market, but they've withdrawn. And what happened was that because of the rapid appreciation in the value of the cedi, we saw an exponential increase in imports, because then people could buy cheaper dollars and so they could import more, which is a natural economic phenomenon. But on the other side, exporters are not happy because they get less cedis for what they export. And so every country tries to find out a balance where exporters are able to do good business and importers are not overburdened by high forex rates. Where that lies, I don't know. I'm not a central bank. But the cedi is making an adjustment, and I believe that it will settle at a certain rate, and we will make sure that any depreciation that occurs in the value of the cedi is within a margin of about 5% per annum. That is what we target. And so for now, there's still speculation. It's also coincided with a period where we saw a reduction of 50% in remittances, because citizens in the diaspora were taken aback by the rapid appreciation of the cedi. And so if somebody was building a house, if he was going to send $100,000, it meant that he was losing a certain percentage of that 100,000. And most of them would decide to adopt a wait-and-see attitude and say, oh, no, as for cedi, it's not possible that the cedi can regain its value to that extent. By all means, it will go up again. So I'll hold back my remittance until the cedi goes back up. So we saw a 50% reduction, but there were also some other factors. There were some money transfer companies that were collecting cedis abroad and not repatriating collecting dollars abroad and not repatriating the dollars. There were other which we're investigating. There were other cases where people applied through the commercial banks for foreign exchange to cover imports. And those monies are transferred to pay for imports, but the imports never came into Ghana. And we've studied a period of 4 years, and over the period of 4 years, about $42 billion was taken out of this country without the corresponding imports coming into the country. And so we started sanctioning some banks, and soon we'll start interrogating some individuals who ostensibly took money out against imports but never brought those imports. We want to know what happened and if there was wrongdoing to sanction whoever it is. While we work to stabilize our economy and improve the value of our currency, we must protect that currency, because a strong cedi is good for all of us. But when that happens, some people try to take advantage of it. And I think that we should all condemn anything like that. FR investigations now with regards to oral. Senya Okayano, MPP Abreso Omode and Shishebi by IEMRA. se aban ne wudi efa case bi ho se ebia wa fasika na bibia wo akwenya obetimi aka se yo ene aban case na mode ekwedu amode bomi no me sande sika na se agodie bia na se bibia mode bomi kwedu no me sande aba se ne be ya bonfa me nkoto how do they call imprisonment efiase bonfa me nkoto efiase enti ayemra edaho enti obi a yabo no kwedu bia ewo tumi se obeka se you ene yentwa so na memfa seimra na yenjai sa no enti eno enye aban ena ebeka eye nipa yede na kugina court and so se oka se o munjai asem no mu na memfa seimra na se agodie bia me fa ye me famra na se japadie bia me fa ye me famra na se bibi aban wa kwenya se ebeka se de bi enje na yebeto aso any case no enti ejina case no ene ni anipa ne ye enti still aban wo tumi say even though wako emra na se aka say me pese me san ede bibi bema aban na aban eja case no mu aban betimi aka say de bi yempe yenje enti eno a case by case say o sheda ede adwembone ewia yesika a echese eso a yengina echese I don't know how to explain. I just say abo aban anase oman car you to me say ebeka say yempe nya wode ba no na yede obekwa akoto efiase but ni be reason ka say na wode no koto efiase wa na obeto aduane ama no wa na obehwe no oyare a wode no beko hospital enti say we wia sika na okase o sande sika be mawa ene ho wonfa so say yebeji yesika chen say yedi nipa no beko efiase enti ye no de Attorney General ene behwe no akan near here. With regards to trade tariffs and China, zero tariffs, it's an incentive for us to export into the Chinese market. And we need to look at the items that China imports and see where we have a comparative advantage to be able to take up those imports. I know that China imports a lot from the US and there's a trade tariff war between US and China. So China is looking for alternative markets to import those items. And so they import a lot of meat from the US, they import a lot of maize from the US and other agricultural products. And so if we have arable land and we're in a position to expand our production, then the zero tariff will make meaningful sense. Then we can take advantage of it. But it is just a figure if we are not able to respond and be able to export into the Chinese market. But I think that it offers an opportunity for diversification of markets. Nobody wins tariff wars. It's unfortunate that America has appended the whole world trade system. We all work towards a rules-based trading system. It took years of negotiation from Rio to Doha round and all that. And eventually reasonable tariffs were agreed between countries. Countries like Africa enjoyed zero tariff into the US because we were in the developing world. And so it was a concession that US gave. And what you receive in exchange is soft power that, you know, a lot of people have a good disposition towards the US because the US has been kind to Africa and all that kind of thing. But in comes President Trump. He has a more transactional mindset. And he says that the US has been taken for granted for a long time. And so even countries like Ghana in Africa, he slapped a 15% tariff on us from zero tariff. And so AGOA is technically dead. It was due for renegotiation in September. There's no way with this 15% tariff, AGOA is going to be renewed. But we're just watching carefully. The power to impose tariffs is that of Congress. But in this case, the U.S. president always pushes the limits. And so there's a case in the U.S. Supreme Court to determine whether his impositions of tariffs are legal or not. And so depending on what the U.S. court says, the tariffs would either be permanent or they might have to go back to Congress to endorse the tariffs that he has imposed. And then from the Central Region, Rich FM, he asked what we're doing to enhance the tourist attraction of the Central Region. It's all about infrastructure. It's also about service. With infrastructure, even the travel time to Central Region is a major problem. In Ghana, we've maintained single lane, highways for a very long time. They are prone to accidents. A lot of accidents occur. Now every day you hear there's an accident on the Kumasi Road, there's an accident on the Cape Coast Road. And that is because when two vehicles oncoming and going are using a single lane, the tendency for, head-on collisions are very real because of wrongful overtaking and all that. So one of our first things that would enhance tourism in the Central Region is that we're dualizing the road all the way to Takoradi. It will reduce travel time to Cape Coast. It will allow somebody to wake up in the morning, travel to Cape Coast, enjoy his tourist experience, and be back in the evening to Accra to sleep. And so reducing the travel time will help enhance that. But apart from that, we must identify what the tourist sites are, improve their attractiveness, and also improve the service delivery. One of the things that affects tourism in Ghana and West Africa is that our service is poor. You go to a restaurant and they think that they are doing you a favor. You go to eat and they think that you owe them, to serve you. If you go to other parts of the world, it's completely different. You are compelled to spend your money because they are all over you. Even before you finish the drink that they have given you, you are halfway. Can I bring you another drink? And if you are the shy type and things, you always say, oh, yes, yes. And you forget that you have to pay for it. And so we must improve our service delivery. Owners of services must take professionals who know how to be courteous to customers, to know that we are in this job because you've come here to eat or you've come here to do this. And so that's one of the drawbacks of our whole tourism experience. And most times you spend so much money, set up an establishment, instead of going for professionals, you go and haul your relatives from the village to come and serve people. They pay and they can't even get their change. You can't find the waiter who took your money. And when you even find them, he says, oh, we have no change. I mean, they have a certain sense of entitlement. And so until we reform all these, and it's an attitudinal problem, until we reform all these, and people who own these establishments make sure that service delivery is at near 100%, we would not be able to attract enough tourists into our country. We have a beautiful country. People come and, they just say, look, this country is good. But if you hear a lot of the feedback and you say, oh, but what is negative about it? Oh, your service is not the best. Always, that's the feedback that comes. But the government will do its part. Government has the responsibility for making sure the infrastructure is good. And we're starting with the road, making sure that we dualize the road all the way to Cape Coast and Central Region so that people can travel easier to go and enjoy the tourist attractions there.
The middle row. So Bernard Avle of Channel 1, Sadiq Adams, Mahama Haruna from the Savannah region, and there's a lady at the back there, and Joshua from GH1.
Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Felix. Before my question, I'd like to indicate that there was a question on Galamsey, which I believe has
Yes,
not
I
been
just
answered.
prompted His Excellency, and he will deal with it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. President, thank you for this opportunity. We are told democracy thrives on checks and balances and separation of powers. Your party has a the Chief Justice you came to meet has been removed, of course, under your hand, although the process